Hello, Pretoria. This is Steve French, and it's so good to hear and to see some of you. And I am here in Jacksonville, Florida, where we've just concluded our Worldview session, and you can see an empty room here and beautiful downtown Jacksonville on the water. We are just, it's just so exciting to live in Orlando, to be here in Jacksonville with LifeWork leaders, and to be able to address you there in South Africa. So greetings from LifeWork leadership in Jacksonville, Florida today. I certainly was reminded of how much I enjoyed my trip to help launch this past year with you, and the joy that I have as I just continue to communicate with a number of you in regards to your journey to be more like Jesus in your leadership. I was really moved just as you were singing that song, How Great Is Our God? And you know, that's a great question to be asking yourself. How great is your God? Well, I know my God is a big, big God. And frankly, he can be very big for you as well. But I was thinking that one of the best ways to demonstrate how big God is whether or not people around you notice God in you. The same God that's so big invades our lives and seeks to transform us. And as Ruan just mentioned about our ultimate mission is the transformation of leaders that would ultimately transform cities. I'm keenly aware, particularly as you conclude this LifeWork journey, that it's all about how big God is in you. In other words, is God big enough to create a biblical worldview in you? Are you at a point in your life where you're just not thinking about business per se, but how business can be biblical? Also, we covered the area of generosity. Is God big enough to make you to be a generous leader? Is God big enough to make you a man or a woman of greater compassion with your business? Or is your God big enough to make you a man or a woman of great integrity, where even when no one is looking, you are not kind of skimming a little bit here and there, but you are being faithful to that audience of one? Or is God big enough to make you a man or a woman of integrity? We also covered the whole issue of humility. Frankly, as you probably know, we certainly know here in the U.S. right now, that we need leaders who are humble. And if there's ever a time in your life where you just cry out to God and say, God, help me to be a leader who's humble, to think nothing more or nothing less than who you really are. This is our desire. And ultimately, which you'll learn a little bit more, all the more tonight regarding legacy, is ultimately, I think, that people end up knowing our big God through our love for one another. Are you going to be a leader who's marked by love? This is my hope for you as you think through your journey with LifeWork this year and how you can take this transformation that has perhaps begun in you and begin to live it out. And one of the major ways in which you will live it out is to think about, how can I leverage what I'm doing for greater kingdom good in my city? Well, there's one final challenge that I'd love to give to you, and that is, as Jesus turned to his marketplace leaders after he had invested 3.5 years with them, he turns to these men and women, and he turns to them and says in so many words, now listen, I want you to be thinking about your Jerusalem like Pretoria. I want you to be thinking about Judea and Samaria, those areas around our city. But I also want you to be thinking about the uttermost parts of the world. You see, at the end of the day, godly leaders are global leaders. Sure, their mission may be very much in their Jerusalem, but they always have a vision and always staying alert. How can I make a contribution to what is global? So that when you go, on business trips. You're thinking not just about getting a deal done, but you're thinking in terms of how can I leverage this trip for better kingdom good? Well, as the global leadership president of LifeWork Leadership, I'm thinking globally all the time. I can't wait to connect you guys with some of our American leaders and some of the leaders that are going to be coming on board with us in India and in China in the very near future. I can't wait to do that for you. But I also want you to be thinking in terms of ways in which you can make a global difference. Maybe it's in your giving, but just simply staying alert to ways in which God might direct you to have an influence on things globally. Well, I just finished reading Matthew 25, and I'm aware of the fact that, as you know, God, that particular passage in Matthew 25, the parable of the talents, has all to do with multiplication. And frankly, one of the things I love about hanging out with marketplace leaders is that you all love leveraging things. You love multiplication. The addition stuff, that's okay, but the multiplication, that's when you get really excited. Well, from Genesis, where he says, be fruitful and multiply, when he goes to Abraham, it says multiply, and Jesus now turns to his marketplace leaders and says, now go into the uttermost parts of the world, multiply yourself, and you turn to the next few chapters in the book of Acts, and all of a sudden, what's happening? They're multiplying. So, now, you go back to work. You take your life work experience and think through and pray through, God, how can I multiply my influence for greater kingdom good? Congratulations, Pretoria class of 2016. I love you guys. I love what God has been doing in and through all those who are leading life work there, and I can't wait to see you again. Congratulations, and enjoy your time together as you focus in on the graduation and the whole topic of legacy. God bless you.